Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Carleton's Live at 5. My name is Stanley Philippe. This is a really special one for me. We are talking student voices. There's nothing better than be able to chat with students, especially students who've had a huge impact on our community. And so if you're wondering what it's like to actually be on Carleton's campus, what it's like to be in our classes, and most importantly, what's it like to be involved in our university and in our community, the two folks you're going to hear from a little bit later on are going to give you a lot of really good info you're going to want to hear about and you're going to want to ask about too. So please take this opportunity to ask your questions. We are talking to the presidents of our Carleton University Student Association and the Rideau River Residents Association. So a great opportunity for you to ask questions about how to get involved, what's the on-campus support system like, and so on. So please use our live event Q&A to ask your questions. And if you have any questions that are non-student voice related, we do have some of our teammates, or sorry, my teammates, who are here as well to answer your admission questions, your application questions, and so on. So please take the time to do just that. I'm so excited, I can barely talk. And so let's go into our next slide, which is something we've been doing this whole year. And we're going to continue to do so because it's really important to acknowledge where we're located. So Carleton University acknowledges the location of its campus on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. And that just puts us in the right place, the right frame of mind, and literally the right kind of location for us to have this conversation. So really happy that we can take a moment to acknowledge again, our roots, our location, and the Algonquin Nation. So again, really excited to have this conversation that we're going to have with Jay and Kathleen, who again are the presidents of our two big student associations on campus, the Rideau River Residents Association and the Carleton University Student Association. So without further ado, let's bring our first guest, Jay, to the screen. And we can talk a bit about Res. So Jay, first, thanks for doing this. How are you doing on this Wednesday evening?
I'm doing good. Hello, everyone. Kind of sad it's raining outside. Was hoping for some warm weather, but aside from that, doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's raining, but you know what they say: April showers, May flowers, and hopefully the flowers will be blooming for all of us as we get through this pandemic. Now, I want to know if you can touch on your journey from your first year in residence to becoming the president of the Rideau River Residents Association. It doesn't happen to everyone. It certainly doesn't happen overnight. So what was your journey like going from newbie on campus to running the on-campus kind of school?
Yeah, definitely been quite the adventure. So I came to Carleton all the way from Nova Scotia, from Halifax. Didn't really know anyone aside from one person, my best friend. So really tried to branch out and get my foot into the residence community, which kind of started off with Frosh Week. Made a lot of friends on my floor. And then from there, we started going to all these amazing events. And I just kind of fell in love with the residence community and meeting new people, whether it was in the tunnels, the cafeteria. I just loved it. So outgoing. And then I decided to join a club called CUDC. So that was the Carleton University Dance Crew. From there, I fell in love with more of the Carleton community. And I was just like, wow, this is just a great group of people. Got to express my love for dance. But then I was like, I kind of want something more. I want to, I don't know, give back to the community or get more involved. And I thought, why not residence? So I decided to run for RAW, Vice President Programming, and was successfully elected in my first year, which I feel was a big accomplishment, only being a first year, because I didn't really have that great of a grasp into the residence community, so I didn't know many people, but I just put myself out there, went for it, and was elected. And then obviously last year was cut short due to the pandemic, so I didn't really get a full term, and I was like, I really want to continue this and work with students next year. And I know that since I have this experience, I can come in and hit the ground running and ensure that we have a successful year online. So went for it and then ran for president. And here I am. It's been such a great year, definitely a different one, but very, very grateful.
Now, not every student will have that same kind of drive and I guess intention of getting involved right away and really and again, it's amazing how quickly you're able to find your community. So how does Carleton, help foster that sense of community for students who are living on campus and are leaving, their hometowns to join a brand new place, a brand new city, and of course a brand new campus?
Yeah, for me, I think it starts like right away. Like once you get to Carleton, like the energy is so high with all the frosh whistles there, yelling, "Pop that trunk," and like trying to get you to move in and like help you out. Even like Raw and Cusa, like tenting in the residence quad, such great energy, meeting new people, playing music, trying to get you like out of your comfort zone. And I think Frosh Week really does help with that, especially like bonding with your floor too, and your RFs hosting floor events, meeting people in the cafeteria. There's so many different ways. Like literally, you could just step out of your building and right away, oh my gosh, I have a new friend. So it's kind of amazing. Just living in residence, even in the virtual year, there's still so many ways to meet new people. So
Yeah, I find that one of the coolest things is that, just by seeing the same faces over and over again, you ultimately start to gravitate towards those people. And when you're in residence, like that happens, that occurrence, or that it happens regularly. And so it's really easy to feel comfortable, and they're just a real kind of eclectic group of people for you to connect with too. So I loved my time in residence, and I think you're bang on. Like it starts right away with orientation week. It's a great introduction to what Carleton's all about. Now, when we get a chance to talk to someone like yourself, you know a lot about residence, and you probably have some cool insider information. So let's dig into that. What are some of the unique spots in residence that students should be looking out for? So aside from their kind of their building and whatnot, where are some kind of the cool spots that all the awesome students are hanging out at that you might want to share with our listeners?
yeah, for sure. I'd say this isn't really like a unique spot. It might be weird to say, but I'd say one of my favorite places is the calf. Not just because I like eating and love food, but also just because like it's such a great environment to meet new people. Like the tables, you just go up to any table, sit with someone, and it's like, oh my gosh, what did you get? And then like boom, you're friends. And I don't know, like in the cafe, I know that's a great way to even connect with people, and then obviously like people on your floor too. And then the next year you find yourself living with these people and moving in together. We also have your common rooms and TV lounges. So those on your floor, and great way to connect with your floor. RFs usually host game nights or movie nights, so a great way to bond and connect with the residence community. We have the Ravens Roost, which is so much fun. Usually we do karaoke in there. That's in Stormont Dundas in the basement. Didn't operate this year due to COVID, but in a normal year, it's so much fun. There's board games. You can just go out and chill. And they also have job opportunities there, so students can also apply there and work there, and they prioritize resident students. We also have Oasis, which is another place where you can get food, different food than the CAF, so more grub food like poutine, burgers, nachos, pizza, so good. Honestly, I love Oasis. That's one thing I'm really gonna miss when I move out of residence. And it's open till usually 2 a.m. So that's a great place you can go and chill out with your friends. If you're studying late, you can go there, grab a bite. And then lastly, we have Abstentions, which is a raw convenience store that we have. So many great snacks. We're open usually till 3 a.m. And just a great place to come, chill. Yeah.
Now, Jay, we have a question from the live event Q&A, and I also have a question. So the question from our Q&A, our listeners, did you have a roommate in your first year?
Yeah. So in my first year, I lived in Prescott, which was like a suite. So I had 3 suite mates. We all had our own individual rooms, but we shared a common area. So like a kitchen and a fridge. And I still talk to them. We're pretty close. We don't live together anymore, obviously, but great guys. And yeah, I did have a roommate essentially.
And then were you like able to choose your roommate in advance, or what was that process like for you?
Yeah, so I didn't really know anyone living on res coming to Carleton, so I didn't really have the choice or to know, like, pick who I wanted to live with. I did when I was positioned with my people who I lived with on eRes Life. I did look them up, and then also they connect you through email so you can talk and get to know each other a bit. So before I did come to Carleton, at least one of my roommates, we added each other on Snapchat, and then we just started talking about how excited we are, what programs we're going to be in. And then kind of when we got there, it was like, oh, we already know each other, and that first icebreaker barrier was broken. So that was really nice.
Yeah, that's a really big part of the process is to be able to identify who your roommate's going to be, and starting those conversations before you even move in is something that's really cool that we're able to do with our students who are going to be living in residence. My follow-up question was about karaoke. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh gosh. My go-to karaoke song is definitely either Britney Spears or Beyonce. I really like Baby Boy by Beyonce, and then Britney Spears, either Give Me More or what's that song called? I don't remember what the song is called, but another Britney Spears song. Anyways, iconic. Yeah.
I thought you did the ear thing where it's like you're about to harmonize it, so I thought you were actually going to start singing it. So that was awesome. One more question before we get Kathleen into the conversation. But again, folks, please keep those questions rolling. And there's a comment here that's really cool. Thanks for sharing. So thanks for answering that question about your roommate. My question was about COVID, and you alluded to it a little bit earlier. So how has COVID changed your approach to the job, and have there been any new initiatives that have come out of this kind of period of time where we are in a pandemic?
Yeah, I'd say this year I really got to use my program a lot of tools I learned in communications. And I try to bring those to Raw and really focus on making sure we have great media and like an outlet to get our voice out there and ensure students know about us, because obviously we can't really advertise ourselves in person. So online is the only aspect we had. So we actually turned our office into a filming studio and tried to record as much content as we could and post it on our socials. We introduced a lot of virtual campaigns this year. We did Mask Up or Pack Up, which was a way to encourage the COVID-19 guidelines. CUSA was also part of that, and SBSS, other associations. We did Residents Rise Up, which was more focused on mental wellness and physical wellness, coming back from the winter break. And we also did speed mingling, which was super fun, a great way to mingle online and connect and build new connections outside of your floor, because right now in residence, you're only allowed to see people on your floor. In the fall, that might change. But yeah, virtual is the only way we really had a way to connect. But I do have to say, though, with the events that we did host this year, for my previous year in Raw, I noticed that we had a bit higher attendance, which is ironic since it's an online year and we're in a pandemic. So that was great to see that students really wanted to come out and build those connections, and that's what they were looking for.
Love that. So let's bring Kathleen in, but folks, Jay is going to stick around. So if you have any more questions about the residence experience or about our Rideau River Residents Association and how they're able to really foster that sense of community on campus, please keep those questions coming in, and we'll get Jay back on screen to answer those as well. All right, so next up we have Kathleen. So Kathleen, thank you for joining us as well, and I hope you're having a lovely Wednesday.
Hi, Stan. Yes, it's so nice to see you and so nice to be here. Thanks for having me, and hello to everyone who's tuning in.
Now, Kathleen, you are the president of the Carleton University Student Association. One always wonders why would someone do that? So what made you want to become CUSA president?
Yeah, when I first saw that question, I was like, I feel like in some ways, everyone would like to be CUSA president just because, but I don't know if that's true, because you do spend a lot of time in the spotlight. But I think like right from the get-go for me during Frosh, I remember like seeing the CUSA team up on stage and realizing that CUSA is just the center of so much of the memorable moments that happen in university in terms of just creating community, hosting fun events, talking about the issues that really matter to you, whether that's mental health or fighting against the injustices that are important to you. Like CUSA really focuses in on all of those things that happen at university beyond the academics. And for me, I'm really passionate about a lot of the issues that affect students. I was really involved prior to CUSA in the climate space, and obviously that's a really important issue for our generation, and that's kind of what drew me into CUSA, because I realized that I would be able to make a bigger impact and talk to more students and get more attention from outside actors like through CUSA. And so that's initially what brought me in. But I mean, now I've realized that it's just the coolest opportunity on campus to really improve the student experience and impact students' lives, just because of the platform that CUSA has, and also because of the resources and the diversity of the community that it brings together.
Now, so you answered the question of the why, but there was also a question I was asked in the Q&A about the how. Like, how did you become the CUSA president? So maybe you can talk a bit about, the steps you took to, unless you became president, overnight. What were the steps you took to get to that position?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's journey into like student politics is really different, but I think for me, I just in first year, I just met as many people as I could. Kind of naturally, I joined a lot of clubs and organizations. I was on a team, and through that, I really met a lot of interesting people. And then in my second year, that's when I got more involved in terms of advocacy, and just started working with a lot of people who I knew who were interested in environmental issues, and I ended up starting my own organization on campus. It's called Climate Action Carleton, and we just do grassroots climate organizing and mobilizing. And we started around the 2019 climate strikes that were happening around the world, and our goal was just to get as many students talking about this as possible. And we ended up like bringing thousands of students together to go march at Parliament. So that was kind of like for me how I started to really connect with a lot more students on specifically that issue. And then I started working with CUSA more directly, and I realized like I could just make a bigger impact to CUSA, so I decided to run. And yeah, running in student elections is a big challenge, but also super rewarding as well. So I think like for anyone who's listening who might be interested in one day representing other students or trying to elect at student government, whether that's in a club or like larger platforms, I would just say the two number one tips I have is first, make as many meaningful relationships as you can, and really like invest in those connections and maintain them. And then second of all, follow the things that you're passionate about. Like for me, obviously, like that's niche. I've always been passionate about climate justice since I've been young. So because I started working on that topic and I was so passionate about it, it really like propelled me into meeting a lot of key people and bringing me into student politics. So I think as long as you're just like making meaningful connections and following the things you're passionate about, like whatever that leadership position that you're meant to be in, like will find you basically.
Yeah, and there was another question in the Q&A about when students can get involved. So do you have to be in fourth year to get involved with CUSA, or can you do that a bit earlier on in your degree?
No, I would say like the first month that you're in school is like probably the best time to get involved, and that starts like by joining Frosh. And yes, Frosh might be virtual this year, but we did a virtual Frosh last year, and I was really involved in the planning. And it's just such a great time to meet other people, even if it's virtual, and also learn about the clubs and societies and services that are on campus. So, for example, CUSA helps administer the over 200 clubs that we have on campus, and we'll be promoting that during Frosh and in the first semester, so you can join a club right from the get-go of your time at Carleton. And then also CUSA does have the street team, which is like a volunteer basis that helps CUSA events, and that is also, you can be in first year, you can be in fourth year. And we also have service centers, which are more targeted for specific demographics or communities on campus. So for example, we have RISE, which is the Racialized and International Experience Center. We have like the food center, so if you're interested in food security, you can volunteer there. So I know I'm covering a lot of different things, but finally, I just want to say, like, if you want to get involved in the politics and the representation, the first chance that you'll have is to run for CUSA Council, which is faculty representatives. And there's a handful of faculty representatives for each faculty, and those elections happen in January. So, and you can be in first year. I know first years who've won council seats, and then usually having like some CUSA experience helps to run for executive in later years.
Now, you talked a bit about your passion, climate change, climate action, that helped drive your involvement. What role do you think CUSA plays in helping students find that voice? And you just referenced the club societies that are available. Does that really help to kind of plant the seed for those students who are looking to get involved but aren't really sure, what they're super into?
For sure. I think in terms of finding your voice and your identity, firstly, I would say CUSA's role is helping you find community. So first, like, yeah, I mentioned like finding a club or society that interests you. And as I mentioned, we have hundreds. So there's almost something for everyone. And if not, you can start your own club. And then also I mentioned like service centers, which are a great way just to meet people who are like you, but also different than you. So I mentioned like one of our service centers, but we also have the Gender and Sexuality Resource Center, which is a great hub for students who are part of the queer community or who just want to learn more or receive peer-to-peer support from fellow students. So I think CUSA really helps students find their voice by finding a community that not only makes you feel safe and like finding your home away from home, but also that challenges you and opens your mind to maybe some topics that you hadn't thought of before. So I think that's something that CUSA really strives to do, is create events and create communities that allow students to find their place, but also to talk about issues that maybe you haven't heard about it before, and challenge discrimination or take down like stigma around mental health and a lot of those larger issues that students while in university are facing and learning about. Like for me in university, like where I was when I'm 18 and now I'm 22, like I have learned so much outside of the classroom in terms of how different our experiences are as students because of our background or because of what we're experiencing. So yeah.
Now there's a question here, and it sounds like this person is trying to follow your footsteps and becoming CUSA president by 4th year, and they want to know what type of clubs were you involved in, because it sounds like you were in a few starting 1st year. So you did mention that you started your own club. Were there other clubs that you got involved with pretty early on?
Yeah, so first, like literally my first week at Carleton, at the club's what's it called? Clubs Expo, which will have a virtual one for this Frosh. So it happens during Frosh week and you get to be exposed to all the clubs. I at that moment joined the novice rowing team. So the rowing team at Carleton has like a novice team, so you don't have to have experience to join. So I ended up doing that in my first year. It was very intense, like 5 a.m. daily practices. So not for everyone, but it was just like a really cool way to meet people who love the outdoors like I do. So I joined that. And then I was also part of Student Energy Carleton, which is an organization with chapters all over the globe that does basically work in advocacy and education around clean energy and the transition to green energy. So I'm quite involved with them still to this day. And then I mentioned in my own club, Climate Action Carleton. And yeah, I also, this is outside of Carleton, but I got the opportunity through Carleton. I volunteered on Parliament Hill as well, which was a fun way to meet other volunteers who most of them are students.
Yeah, CU Expo is one of the bigger events that happens in the fall, and it's one that we definitely encourage students to attend, whether it's in person or virtual, because you get to really see the number of ways you get involved on our campus and to really start finding your own kind of niche. Now, I know you're dying to tell us this, Kathleen, so maybe you can highlight a couple of unique clubs and societies that you'll only find at Carleton University. What are some of those like unique gems that students should look for?
Yeah, so I was looking into this before our conversation, and one that I found that I think is super cool is Sock and Buskin Theater Company is a theater club and community at Carleton. It is actually our oldest running Carleton club. So it's nicknamed, I was reading about it, it's nicknamed the Friendship Company, and I've been to see a lot of their productions from like Pride and Prejudice to, I don't know, I've seen a lot of them, but anyways, they're a really great group and I have a lot of friends in them. I also found we have the motor racing enthusiasts of Carleton who follow like NASCAR and all of that really closely. So I thought that was kind of a niche group that I want to mention. So lots of very unique clubs and societies, but I do want to mention that we have a lot of less niche but more broad clubs that really have something for everyone, and in areas that you might not think of, like we do have a lot of political clubs where you can get involved with different parties. We also have a lot of social justice groups that run education and awareness campaigns. We have tons of religious and cultural groups. For example, the Muslim Student Association is one of, if not the largest Carleton club that we have on campus, that run Friday prayers in our prayer space on campus. And we also have a lot of like cultural clubs. Again, another huge club on campus is the Carleton University Nigerian Student Association, KUNSA. And yeah, sports clubs as well. So there's really a little bit of everything, but I just want to give some specific examples.
Yeah, there's a lot of outlets, a lot of ways for students to get involved, and of course, they're still having to fulfill their academic requirements and going to their classes and whatnot. So maybe we'll end with this one. How did you find that balance between being academically proficient, but at the same time being really involved in those extracurriculars that really define your university experience? How do you find that balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first off, in terms of just like your mindset coming into university, I think, you might think like, oh, I'm going to wait to get involved because I want to see if I can handle it, or like university is going to be so hard. Like I'm not prepared coming from high school, but I want to reassure people that like you are prepared and you can succeed in university. And also adding extracurriculars can also be really beneficial for your academic success, just because it helps with your mental health. It helps you meet people that can help you. It helps you connect with older students, which is like super important when you start university to, maybe have some mentorship relationships. So I just want to encourage people first off to not fear getting involved from the get-go. And then in terms of practical tips, one, find a good place that you can study in calm areas. I think like the biggest thing I've learned in university is it's not about how much time you study, it's about how effective your time is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find a place that's quiet, like there's floors in the library that are silent floors. I love those. Because when I study, it's like pure studying, so I can make time for everything else. So yeah, silent floors, silent areas, getting rid of distractions, like turning off your phone, removing everything away from your study area, just having your computer. And then I find having a really clear like list of deadlines is also key. So whether that's your Google Calendar, if you haven't used a Google Calendar, I really recommend trying that out like before university, because it took me a few years to get away from writing everything down, though I think that's also a good method. But whether it's a handwritten calendar or like a Google Calendar, just make sure you take the time to go through all your deadlines when you receive your syllabuses, so that just takes away the stress of having to stay on top of everything when you know it's already all like tracked. So yeah, I hope those are some helpful tips.
Yeah, very helpful and very inspiring. There's a comment in our Q&A where someone said, "You are very inspiring to me, Kathleen." So I really appreciate you taking the time to inspire our future Ravens. And I just want to bring Jay back, because there's a question that I kind of skipped about residents, and the question was about events. And I know, Jay, that this year was a bit different with the events that were available, although like you mentioned, a lot of students still tuned in and participated. But in a normal year, what type of events happen in residence that RA will put on for students living on campus?
Yeah, I can kind of mention some online and some in person too. So in a normal year, we obviously have fall orientation week. And then going from there, a few events we hosted in the fall last year. We did a drag queen show, which was really cool, the first ever in residence. We do Res Fest, which is a carnival that usually happens in the residence quad. So that's partnered with the cafeteria, which is standing services. There's like cotton candy, popcorn, bouncy castles, inflatables. It's super, super fun. So you can come out to that. There's a DJ in the quad. It's like the sun shining, great way to meet people. We have residence formal too, which didn't get to happen this year, sadly, but in a normal year, residence formal, I'd say, is one of the biggest events that happens in Res. That happens in Quebec, actually. So we have it at the Hilton Lac-Lémy in Gatineau. And we have buses. The students buy tickets. We bring them over with the buses. We have a dinner, a dance, a sick DJ, super cool. You dress up all fancy. There's usually a theme every year. Last year, I planned it and I made the theme the snowball. The year before, the theme was Vegas, and then I'm sure it repeated itself in history in years and past. And then this year we did a TikTok dance class, which was super fun. I love TikTok, so that was super fun to teach as well. Other events that we did a lot this year. We did a drag queen bingo, which was super fun as well. We had Jesse Thistle come in and talk about his book, which was super cool. Yeah, there's honestly so many events. You just have to search for them. And I'd say the best way to do that would definitely be, for me, I found in my first year Instagram, like I just followed all of the accounts, and then I would just see their stories and be like, oh my gosh, these events are happening. And I'd send them to my friends and we'd show up and have a good time.
Yeah, and our students are so excited to get involved, but they're also mindful of the work of the schoolwork. And Kathleen touched on this a bit earlier, and maybe we'll get her on to add if she wants to add anything else. But there was a question here. I hear the course load can be pretty brutal. How did you manage that on top of all the clubs and other activities? So maybe Jay, you can give some of your tips and pointers for balancing your work, your class schedule, and being able to get involved.
Yeah, I'd say in my first year was pretty hard because I took a full course load and I felt like, oh my gosh, I have to graduate in 4 years. I'm going to take a full course load every year. And then in my second year, I was like, what's the rush? Like, like so many people take a fifth year. It's okay to dial back. And if I want to take on this opportunity, such as Raw, and become president, like it's going to be a great experience. And if I graduate a little later, then what's wrong with that? So I took less of a course load. I still was a full-time student, but I think I took 4 courses instead of 5, and then in my second semester I took 3 instead of 5. But the way I managed it was I just made sure that in the morning I would either focus on school or if I had class, and then in the afternoon I would set aside my time for work. And I think a great asset for that was Google Calendar. Really helped me out, and I would always set notifications to ensure that I would get things done at least an hour before I knew what was happening. Aside from that, yeah, I know I make to-do lists a lot, so I usually write out everything I have to do for the day, and then I'll go through and check it off. I just find it pretty satisfying when it's done, so that really helps me get through all my tasks.
Now that list of events that you mentioned really painted an amazing picture for our students, and there was a question about a comment about how much fun residence sounds like, but also if you had any recommendations for residence buildings that you would push towards most first year students or any first year students. And I know you have quite the really interesting track record with residence buildings, so maybe you can touch on the different types of buildings and the charm that you'll find in all of them.
Yeah, so I've lived in 4 different residence buildings. So I started off in Prescott, which is like the suites. So you live with 4 different people and then you share the common area, and there's a fridge, but there's no stove top or anything. That was definitely a great experience. It's nice if you want to have roommates and meet new people, but then also have your own private space because you have your own room. Leeds is also like that. So it's like a suite, and you split the room with 4 other people, but then you share a common area. I'd say, I see that you say you're looking for a single room if possible. The best res that I would recommend for a single room, I'd say would be Lennox and Addington. I don't know, I lived in there in my second year and it was my favorite. The elevators are the fastest, I'd say, in all the residence buildings. And it also looks pretty new. It kind of looks like a hotel, and it has like an industrial vibe with like concrete walls. Currently I'm living in Frontenac. So that's a second year residence. So if you do choose to live in res in second year, it's a great setup, and you have a kitchen and a fridge too. So yeah.
And I'm just going to lobby for the residence buildings I lived in. I lived in Glengarry, I lived in Lanark, and I lived in Grenville, and they were all awesome buildings. So just make sure if you are thinking about living in res to be really as honest as possible on your application, so we can find you not only the best building, but more importantly, like Jay mentioned earlier, the best roommate, because that really helps to solidify your experience if you're paired up with the right people on your floor. So definitely do that. I don't see any more questions coming in, so maybe we'll leave it at that. Jay, do you have any final words of advice or wisdom you want to share with our listeners?
I just want to say, like, when you come into Carleton, like, don't be afraid to like hit the ground running. Like, you're starting new. It's kind of like a fresh life. You're going to become a new person, and I know it gets scary a bit, but like once you get your first like few months in and like find your friends and your niche, like it's honestly like such an amazing experience. Like, I feel like I've grown so much since my first year, and I'm so grateful to be the person that I am today. And I definitely would say that's thanks to living on res and Carleton and all the new people that I've met. So yeah, thank you for having me, and I hope you either accept your offer, or if you did accept your offer, I'm wishing you the best of luck in the fall.
That is awesome advice, and thank you for being a part of this. Kathleen, I'll give you an opportunity to do oh, here I am. Kathleen, I'll give you a chance to do the same thing, which is to give your kind of last words of wisdom and advice to our listeners.
Yeah, my advice is just even if coming into Carleton in the COVID scenario is not what you were hoping for, just know that by the time you leave Carleton, you will regardless have like the most incredible experience of your life, and you will be here for a while, and you know, things are going to change a lot, and you will still have like the university experience that you hope for. And even if it is in a virtual setting, just know that like there are tons of great organizations putting out really meaningful events, so don't be afraid to tap into them right away, and like don't feel like you have to wait for things to be back in person to actually have a university experience. And yeah, just if you're listening and you haven't decided yet where you're going to come, I decided to come to Carleton on like a total whim. I had never been to campus or anything, and it is definitely the best decision I ever made, because I feel like at Carleton, people who are here are really happy to be here and proud and love it, and that's where I've found in university experiences. So I hope that, or I know that if you choose us, you won't be disappointed.
Love that. Perfect note to end our student voices panel discussion, and really lovely, like someone said in the comments here, really love hearing your student voices, and really they are the heartbeat of our institution. Before we wrap up today's Live at 5, I just want to remind you that the Talking Ribbon podcast is still available wherever you find your podcast, including Spotify. And if you love Jay and Kathleen, they actually appeared on the Talking Ribbon podcast, the Networks episode, so you can tune into a conversation I got a chance to have with the two of them, and it was really great. So listen into that. You can actually scan the barcode on your screen to get you directly onto our podcast on Spotify. So feel free to do that. Yes, that's me in that picture. You're not seeing double. Yeah, so thank you all for joining us this afternoon or this evening. It was a lot of fun chatting with, again, Kathleen and Jay, and I appreciate them taking the time to do this. And we hope that you will continue to have a conversation with us about your post-secondary future. 360.carleton.ca is the place to go for you to get access to a lot of the events that we're going to be playing over the next few weeks. We have our second annual See You at Home series that's kicking off on Monday, May 3rd. So definitely look out for that. And of course, continue to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Carleton_future is our handle for those accounts. And lastly, best of luck with making your decisions. Again, we are here to help. So please let us know if you have any questions or concerns. We definitely want to help you out. We're going to stick around for a few more minutes to answer any of your last minute questions in the Q&A. And if we don't hear from you there, we again hope to see you at Carleton very soon. Take care.